Coming up on Theater Talk.
Okay, moms. Of all the money that e'er I had, I lost it in good company, ladies. And of all the harm that e'er I done, alas was done to none but me.
Theater Talk is made possible in part by the CUNY TV Foundation.
I've been better for years. It's why I'm comfortable talking about it.
You take medicine for that?
Dad, that's rude to ask.
It's sorry.
Okay.
Hey, I'm sorry. It's just, in our family, we don't have that kind of depression.
Yeah, no, we just have a lot of stoic sadness.
From New York City, this is Theater Talk. I'm Susan Haskins.
And I'm Michael Riedel of the New York Post. Now, Susan, there is a terrific new American, I'm happy to say, play here in New York on Broadway called The Humans. Really the most exciting American drama I've seen since August Osage County, I'd have to say. It was written by a newcomer to the scene, Stephen Karam. Welcome to Theater Talk. And it has an absolutely superb cast. And as I told them before we start, it's the kind of acting where you do not see the acting. You see real people, not actors. Welcome to Theater Talk, Jane Howdy-Shell.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Reed Birney. I think it's your first time on Theater
It
Talk.
is my very first time.
Well, welcome to our
So
team.
Jane is our veteran.
Yeah.
She's our veteran.
She was here for her Tony-nominated role in Well, Lisa Krone's Well.
Brilliant, yes. And also another first-timer of Theater Talk newbie, Cassie Beck, another terrific cast member of The Humans at the Helen Hayes. Welcome all.
Thank you.
All right, Stephen, so can you just take us back to the moment where you suddenly begin to conceive of this slightly, shall we say, dysfunctional American family that's at the center of your play?
It was a long and winding road. I didn't start out thinking I was going to write a family drama. I was thinking a lot about fear and anxiety post 9/11, post financial crisis, and I was looking for a story that would let me talk about those things via hopefully a play that would be a little scary itself or fear-inducing. So I actually thought I was going to be writing something very genre, like a stage thriller.
Death Trap became The Humans in a way.
Yeah, and the more I fell in love with these characters and started to think about the specific existential horrors that were plaguing this particular group of people, and really everyone, fear of death, fear of losing the love of someone, fear of poverty, fear of ill health, illness, it took the shape of a real-time play that would let me sort of look at the horrors of everyday life in these sort of quiet moments.
And squarely, though, in the tradition of the American family drama. I mean, we think of Long Day's Journey into Night, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. These are domestic plays with existential themes going on, very much like, I think, The Humans.
Sure. I guess what I'm saying is I ended up with a family play that was sort of infected by the thriller genre. It's sort of like a genre collision play.
You have the family who's on the edge between the humor and comfort of a family gathering and every crisis that you can imagine. When did it get to the play that there was such humor in it?
I think people are resilient and hilarious in the face of, of all of their anxieties and crises. And so it's just, I think part of it's just my worldview. And I love to go to the theater and to laugh. Yeah.
Now, I want to go through each of the characters you play. Jane, if you can give us a sense of, you're the mother of this family.
Yes.
A sense of who she is and where she is at this particular point when this play begins.
I think she's a really good mom, and she's been a devoted mother her entire adult life. I mean, she married, I think, young,
Right.
and they started their family pretty soon after that. But she's also a working mom.
Mm-hmm.
So, and she's a woman who's learned how to cope with a lot of pressure from a lot of different angles throughout her life, and she's caring for her husband's mother now, who is aging and really a handful, in addition to everything else. But it kind of the central thing that holds her together with all the kind of stressors that she has, is her faith, which is
Yeah.
abiding and deep.
Yep.
And she's a very devoted Catholic.
What I like about the play, we have sort of the smart alecky stuff where people are sneering a little bit at faith, but it's the Catholicism of this family that keeps them from maybe destroying each other and perhaps destroying themselves in some way.
The kind of faith we grew up with, it's not perfect, but you take for granted what a kind of natural antidepressant it is.
No religion at the table.
My mouth is shut.
I think our faith is unshakable, and even in the crisis of our marriage, our impulse is to go to the church for counseling. Would never occur to us to go to a marriage counselor.
No, when you have a rift in the relationship, you talk about going to see the priest.
Father
I mean,
Quinn.
it's a very traditional old family.
And I don't imagine what Father Quinn says to us is particularly
Right.
incisive.
What did he say?
Forgive each other,
Right.
love each other,
Stay together.
stay together, say some Hail Marys or novenas, and you're going to be fine.
Right.
What I am sneering at is therapy.
Yes, exactly.
What's that all about?
Right.
Going to therapy and having somebody know your business and tell you what to do.
And yet the faith seems to be, and by it hits your generation, it brings you together, but it's sort of pulling you away from your parents.
That's right. I have issues with Father Quinn. I think for Amy, the character that I play, the
Our
older,
daughter.
The
Yeah.
daughter, yeah.
the daughter, the older sibling, every time Father Quinn comes up, I'm a little, ooh, okay.
That guy.
Right, I remember Father Quinn. But my role, I think, in the family dynamic is I'm the mediator, I'm the peacemaker. Amy uses humor to deflect tension a lot. She's a lot like her dad. I think she's got a lot of pride. She's private. She wants to handle things in that kind of, salt of the earth American way of, I'm going to pull myself through it. And I don't think she dwells. I can't relate to her in that respect. I'm a dweller and a fretter. But what I love about Amy is that she's in the moment and moving forward.
Well, she does some
always.
fretting up there
Well,
on the telephone.
Yeah, I think that's more also though about Amy's inability to completely accept that she's
all right.
in a
In a
relationship that's over. So she's still reaching for something.
Well, in some ways,
And
it's
Amy-
that
oh.
spirituality. I mean, it's the younger generation who, you guys, the daughters, don't have this faith that their
Yeah.
parents have, this unshakable faith. But
There's no
I
rock
feel
for
like
them.
they are reaching out in their own ways to fill that void via. You make fun of the youngest daughter for therapy and superfoods, and you're doing hot yoga and juice cleansing, but you won't sit in a church pew and say a prayer. You think that's, you'll meditate, but you won't, you think I'm crazy for saying a Hail Mary. I think in some ways, your ex-girlfriend was maybe your religion in a certain way. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Which
and
is
her
why in
work,
these
I think-
moments, it's reaching out to this woman who
And
we're
Amy's-
connected to for it,
Yeah.
There's an interesting dynamic in this play, and among all the characters here, that they are a close family, but you have these intensely private moments each of them has. Even though they're in the apartment together to celebrate Thanksgiving, it's a family moment. There are moments when each one of you sort of steps away, and we see your own fears that you may not even be able to share with everybody else. Is that a fair assessment
Yes.
of what's going on in this
Yes.
event?
And that's my life experience of every family gathering I've ever been to. I mean, that you come together. It's intense, and you're close, or whatever, and you're interacting, and then all of a sudden, people drift off to the kitchen or drift off to the
bar.
the bedroom, or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
because you can't. You need to remove yourself from the intensity in certain ways, and we do all find a way to do that in this tiny apartment. It's interesting.
I literally took away cell service in the lower basement level, and still, Amy escapes upstairs. The one window where they can get like a few bars.
Yeah.
But
The other interesting thing about this play is we think of New York City now as this incredibly glamorous, rich place. And people like me from Scranton and their daughter who's moved to New York, who does not live in a nice apartment, you're seeing a side of the economics of New York for people that New York is really not for these people. You cannot afford to be here.
And I
A
think
friend
it's
of
a
mine
pretty
saw
great
it,
apartment.
saw it the very early in previews, maybe the second or third preview, and he said, "I'm so stunned to see a play that addresses how hard it is to be poor in America." Like he had never seen that before. And, I think back, it's true. It's like there's really aren't people don't talk about that.
And what I love is then you put in one character who has access to wealth.
Yeah.
He's not, it's the son-in-law. And that's such a smart device you've put in to set things in perspective. You know, he's had his problems too, but then he says, but I'm going to get my trust fund in a couple of years. And you realize that that's not.
And when he
where
says
people-
trust fund, the sympathy for him goes out the window.
No, but
Really from me.
Absolutely.
you clearly did that in a very clever way. Yeah.
Yeah, I was interested in that dynamic, but what that inserts into the discussion. But I also wanted him to be someone, you know, I'm interested in how someone like the character of Richard maybe has a kind of awareness of, he's very loving towards the family and is very much trying to.
And we should say he's dating your sister, your other daughter.
Right.
He's dating the youngest
He's not a family
daughter.
member.
Yeah, and he's, you know, a bit older. He's about 10 years older, which is not, you know,
But
your
not
favorite thing
married,
in the
as
world.
Jane points out.
That's right. He's not the brother or the son-in-law until they get married. Yeah.
But that brings up its own anxiety. So I was not trying to paint him as let's say the typical like
Spoiled
trust
rich.
fund spoiled. Yeah, I try, you know.
No, but it's
And
just
even
there's
then-
no way out for anybody else. No
Totally.
way out. And then, but suddenly, and then you go, oh, well, money is a big help here that they don't have.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And how easy it is to take it for granted.
Yes.
How many problems money can solve.
I find too in your character, because I've seen this happen with families that I grew up in. You seem to be the first of this family who's gone to college. You're a lawyer.
That's right.
You know, your parents are working class people, so
Right.
you already are moving in a new socioeconomic environment. You have your own particular struggles with the job at this point,
Right.
But you are moving away a bit from this world that you grew up in, of a bit bleak.
It's funny when people see the play, the first thing they say to me sometimes out in the lobby is, "Are you going to sue? Are you going to, are you going to fix the problems? Amy's going to make money and she's going to fix everything." And I think, like Richard's character, the idea is who's going to be the one to fix this,
Right.
without trying to give too much away. And I think for Amy, though, it just speaks to her personality. I think she's a workhorse. I think she got that from her parents.
It was our dream that our kids do better.
Yeah.
Like everybody's.
Right.
You know, your kids are not going to have the same struggles. But the paradox about that is that they then have no real sense of what it is we went through.
Right. Right.
And
That's true. I think
Yeah.
of first generation families into the next generation. The people who came, our parents came off the boat
Right.
from Ireland. So, we watched them struggle and we got to our middle class status through working very, very hard so our daughters can have something better. But we're also perplexed by what that better is.
Yeah.
It's a little confusing because both of our girls did go to college, but one is becoming an artist. We don't,
Or
that's
maybe.
baffling. Yes,
yeah.
that's baffling.
No, her difficulties of being an artist problem are sort of you seem absurd compared with. I don't know if you intended that compared with the other problems.
The problems the parents have.
Sure. Well, but I think it's amazing how you're talking about these private moments and how connected a family can be, and this is, I think, a very tight knit, loving family, but how disconnected they can be from each other's problems at the same time. So there really is a kind of disconnect, just how brutal and tough it's been for the two of them, to take care of, Bridget, the younger daughter's grandmother. And she's just kind of like, why don't you get a mani-pedi and
Right.
you'll feel better, Mom. It's like there's a kind of,
Yeah. And then
she doesn't quite understand what's going
you've
on.
hidden in a built-in secret problem, which is, a very difficult secret problem, which we have to get to, and that's
Right.
makes the play so much more powerful that there's even problems that can't be talked about.
And yet at the same time, what I hope is kind of wonderfully strange about that secret is, because everyone expects a secret in the family play, is that it's actually, it has been to some degree, not to bring back Father Quinn, but talked about and resolved.
Yeah,
Meaning I
that's
feel
right.
like without giving away the secret,
Right.
I feel like maybe the play people might expect is the one where Jane's character finds out the secret in
Right.
real time
Right,
at
right,
the
right.
at
That's
dinner
a
And where
Okay.
everyone has the,
and so it's the strangeness
But they're
of
working-
like
they're working
we
on the
talked
problem.
about-
We're okay. I say
It's-
more than once, we're good.
Right.
And I think we
I
are.
don't believe you.
I'm not saying it's going to be easy.
You
but
say we're good, and I don't believe you.
sorry to hear
Goody
that.
Haskins over here.
it's
She'd be
not.
like, you dump him, get out.
No,
Missing the point of the place is
when
that they love
you-
each other.
No. I'm not talking about. It's good in your conscience. I'm talking about then in the staging by Joe Mantello. Things happen in the play that I don't feel that you are necessarily going into a world because of the way the director has put this play. It doesn't look happy.
Disagree. Feel free to disagree.
You see what I'm saying?
I do see what you're saying, but I actually think the point of the play, again, we have to be so obtuse here in how we talk about it, because we want you to come see it.
And it's a good reveal. It is
Yeah,
a good reveal.
it's a,
Great reveal.
is that it's not going to be easy, but we endure.
All right.
Yes.
We endure.
Because
the
the-
humans
Right.
endure.
Because you could be killed by the monster neighbor. I mean, this is why it's great art, because there is great ambiguity about some aspects, which are very fascinating.
engenders fantastic discussions post-show.
I'll bet.
Which is thrilling for all of us.
One of the things that's extraordinary about this ending is there is no denouement. You know, I mean, it's not traditional in any way, this play, in a way, even though on the page it looks quite, what's the word?
Genre, yeah, it was
Yeah.
a family drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But it doesn't spin out that way.
Since you're all established and very successful people in the theater, I'd love to get a sense of your backgrounds. So, Stephen, can you tell me as a kid growing up, what was the first play, theatrical experience that you thought, boy, this is a world I want to work in?
I saw my sister's production of Little Shop of Horrors at North Scranton Intermediate School.
Yes.
I was in first grade. She was one of I remember because it was my first introduction to the show, she was one of 100 doo-wop girls. Instead of Crystal Runnett and Chiffon, she didn't
Everyone
get
has
one
to have
of
a
the three
part.
leads. So the way they made that, there were all of these crazy supernumeraries in this production of Little Shop. So she was, and I was just kind of blown away. I didn't even know what theater was. So it wasn't like I had this gradual reveal. And then I went home. I remember my parents rented the movie because she was excited about being in the play. And I devoured a lot of plays in school. I remember reading, just every author was a discovery. Tennessee Williams, The Glass Menagerie, The Crucible. It was the classic, reading August Wilson. It's the classic high school reading list. And
And you knew you wanted to be a writer then, or did you think maybe an actor, maybe a director?
No, I was imitating. I loved writing, so I was acting in plays, and I was a very nervous actor, so I kind of sensed that probably wasn't going to be, but I wanted to be a part of the theater, so I just started imitating any kind of a new play I would discover. I would read a David Mamet play, I would write like David Mamet. I would discover Carol Churchill, I would try to write like her. And then I discovered the drama bookshop, and my mom would take me, sort of my annual birthday Christmas present was to come. Do you remember when it used to be above?
Yeah, it was on
a
47th Street, above
like a
across from the
bar?
Yeah, across from the it was across from the Palace Theater, and you'd go upstairs.
Right.
Yeah,
and it was
yeah.
really creaky and
Right.
grimy
Yeah,
and
yeah.
old and fabulous.
It was
Yeah.
amazing,
Yeah.
and so I would go and kind of blindly pick out, 5 or 6 plays, and so my love of theater really did come from a lot of reading, and then the school trips that we saw, before college were big shows like everybody. My first Broadway show was Phantom.
Still there across the street from
Still
us.
across the street, which is actually a really, does have special meaning.
All right, going back before Phantom, Reed, for you.
Yeah.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Delaware, so
it's not too far.
similar idea, yeah.
And for you, what was the early in your life?
I remember being about 5, and I think I went to see Wonders of Aladdin with Donald O'Connor at the little movie theater in town that had 35 seats, and getting, oh, you can do that, that's for me. and saying to a group of grown-ups, I wanted to be an actor, and they were all, you know that. And I just steered my life in that direction forever. My first Broadway play was Gemini in the same theater where
Right, of
I
course.
am now.
Albert Inarado, right?
Albert Inarado, and I was 22, and I was not prepared for how intense it was going to be for me 39 years later to come back into this theater and have this experience, having had that for a year and a half. Yeah, it was, if you saw it in a movie, you'd say it's a little on the nose. It's a little heavy-handed. You can't go back to the exact same theater.
Are you in the same dressing room as you were back then?
I tried. The understudies are in there now. I don't know what that's about.
You've gone up a little in the world at the star dressing room.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of ghosts at the Helen Hayes Theater for me.
Yeah. And Cassie, where'd you grow up?
Well, I'm a military brat,
Oh.
so I didn't grow up in one place, America. I grew up in America, all over. When I was 7, my mom took me to the Redlands Bowl, which is where we were in Southern California at the time, and I saw The Music Man. And that was it. I was hooked. But I grew up as a dancer, actually. So a lot of my training, performative training, was dance. And then in high school, I moved into theater. I kind of came late to the game. But there is a small jig moment.
Yes, I love it.
In The Humans.
She made the mistake
And
of
I
telling
made the mistake
me.
of telling Stephen Karam that I am an ex-Irish dance champion. Oh, which is true.
There we go.
No, don't move the arms.
Which is true. And
He wrote it in.
yeah,
In the book.
I don't know if it's written in. Is it written in now?
It's written into our production.
Okay. Well, you're welcome, actors to come play Amy. That came from my real life. I was joking about it, and I remember Joe snuck up to me one day in tech and said, "Stephen wants you to put in the jig." And I was like, "Nuh-uh, really?" And he goes, "Yeah, he wants you to do it."
Do you get points for that?
Yeah, did you get a royalty from him?
Yeah, seriously.
I wrote the whole part with Cassie in mind before I'd just seen her in about 4 or 5 off-Broadway shows.
Oh, really?
And you always have actors in your head before you, and I was just like, yeah, this is going to be for Cassie. Of course, I didn't even know she'd be able to do the reading. She did the reading, and she stuck with the play from. It was one of those magical things that it actually worked out that way.
The first time I read the play, I thought, oh, please, God, just let me be a part of this in some way. And I'm so thankful that Stephen didn't tell me that he had me in mind when he wrote it, because I didn't find out till later, a couple of readings and workshops later, because anytime anybody tells you you're perfect for something or that it's for you, you
Kiss the
inevitably
death.
screw
You're
it
going to be
up.
self-conscious.
Yes.
And last but not least, of course, Jane. You're where are you from originally?
Topeka, Kansas.
Topeka, Kansas, right? And growing up as a kid, I mean, what was it for you? Who was passing through town in a touring show? Ethel Merman?
Almost. I first of all, as a child, I grew up with a father who kind of had a dream deferred. As a young man, before he married, he had a brief time in doing traveling summer stock in the Midwest, and then he went to Kansas City to break into vaudeville. And it was short-lived because it was 1929.
Right at the end. Timing.
But anyway, he had a performer's instinct, and that was never indulged. So as a child, I grew up watching him do magic tricks, and I watched him play the ukulele and sing, and we all sang together as a family. He was in a barbershop group, so we all sang in 4-part harmony. There were 4 girls, and all of that. So it was naturally in our house somehow, but seeing shows and that sort of thing, it was, that because we were in a rural community, I didn't see theater, but I listened to cast albums until the grooves were worn off the record. And I knew them all back to front and performed them constantly. And but when I got into high school, I was lucky enough to have one of those drama teachers that was incredible, so gifted, so dedicated, and recognized that I was avid. And so she gave me an enormous amount of opportunity to do a wide range of roles. And by my junior year, I was practically doing nothing but independent studies with specialized things in theater. It was really an extraordinary high school experience. So, and she was the one who made sure that I got into an acting school when I left high school, and so had some legs up.
Did your dad
early
live
on.
long enough to see you attain some
He
professional
saw me
success?
do summer stock in the Midwest. He saw me do a lot of musicals. I did a lot of musicals when I was in my 20s before I moved to New York. And yes, he was very proud.
Excellent.
Before we wrap it up, I just want to say that you're an ensemble, and I want to mention the other three actors who aren't here.
Thank you.
Sarah Steele
Lauren Klein,
and
Arian
Arian
Moorhead.
Moore. And Lauren Klein plays the mother with dementia, and she has practically no lines, and she is, I mean, the others are great too, but I'm going to say kudos to her, lying on a couch, giving
And
a
the stuff she
magnificent
says, the
performance.
gibberish she says, is all written down.
Yes,
She's learned it syllable by
I
syllable.
got the script, and that's
Yeah.
really
She
something.
does, yeah,
right.
she does it. She's incredible. She disappears into the part in a way.
Yeah, it's a terrific play, The Humans, by Stephen Karam, starring Jane Howdyshell, Reed Birney, and Cassie Beck. Don't miss it at the Helen Hayes Theater. Thanks for being our guest tonight on Theater Talk, and good luck with the success of this play.
Thank you.
See you all at
Thank
the,
you.
dare I say it, Tony Awards.
Don't miss it. Don't miss it.
Still, you said half your friends are in therapy. You said
That's
that, so I'm just
because-
asking.
Yeah, I was trying to get you to pay for mine. I still can't afford it.
Well, save some of the money you spend on organic juice and pay for it yourself.
Don't criticize me for caring about my mental health. Okay.
What about Rich's mom is a therapist? Why don't you get it from her?
Yeah, Dad, I'll get therapy from my mother-in-law. That's an awesome idea.
She's not your mother-in-law unless you get married.
Our thanks to the Friends of Theater Talk for their significant contribution to this production. Theater Talk is made possible in part by the Frederick Lowe Foundation, the Corey and Bob Dinelli Charitable Fund, the Noel Coward Foundation, Carrie J. Fries, the Dorothy Strelson Foundation, and the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs.
We welcome your questions or comments for Theater Talk. Thank you